The crypto crash is getting worse. It's getting oh so much worse. It might even never get better ever again. It's possible that this is the end. That this is the end, my friends, and it's been nice knowing you. Of course, good old clickbait title for today's video, but I do want to get into, of course, the major range for Bitcoin and potentially the next major opportunity, actually more importantly for Bitcoin as well, with halving coming up in just 7 days now, or around 7 days, because it is a bit of an estimate there. Anyways, first things first, there is one chart that is massively bullish in all of this and does actually imply that, most things will probably get worse. And that is, of course, the Bitcoin dominance chart over here. Again, I'm not fully convinced that this metric in and of itself is super relevant. It's always best to be looking at whatever altcoin at hand versus Bitcoin to determine, if it's good or not, right? But this can give us like a general overview of what we expect the majority of the market to be doing. And of course, we did notify in the past couple of weeks that this one was essentially reclaiming bullish structure and very likely to trade onwards and upwards to the upside after putting in this massive higher low here in January. It's actually, holy shit, it's been like 2 months since we last spoke about this. No, we spoke about this about a month ago, or at least a week or two ago, on this next higher low over here. But ultimately, this one following through in this case, making new yearly highs with a high now of 56.31%. And I do believe that this one very likely will travel a little bit higher, at least towards a 618 fib, as you can see right here, which is just around about 58%. So at that point, do we see another little bit of a pullback? And probably continuation? Yeah, I do think so. So what does that imply for altcoins? That means that altcoins versus Bitcoin, that pairing, are very likely to lose value. Now, this is not suggesting that altcoin versus US dollar will be losing value. That's a different equation altogether. But this is just in the overall sense of things suggesting that whether Bitcoin goes up or down from here versus US dollar, altcoins are very likely to continue to bleed versus their Bitcoin pairing. I do believe that this does suggest that we're probably going to continue to see Bitcoin lead this market to the upside, but Bitcoin's going to be outpacing the altcoins. And as I've been saying, for the last week or two now, I'm starting to become more convicted that we probably see the high of this current cycle actually before this year ends. I actually do think that we will see it before or maybe at year end, something like that. I don't think that this market cycle is going to be going past early 2025, even if it gets to there. So yeah, but that's another topic for another video, perhaps. In this case, it would suggest that in the interim, as long as Bitcoin is in charge, altcoins not going to be doing too hot. So again, I would suggest that it's best to be looking at, altcoin versus Bitcoin valuation. So in this case, we can look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin right here. And we can see, and I'd like to look at like what I consider the big three, which is Ethereum and Solana. Hey, damn it, just drawing some fucking lines over here. Don't want to be doing that. But we can see that Ethereum Ethereum versus Bitcoin, I should say, is once again coming down to that macro 382 level right here. Testing this region multiple times is not necessarily a sign of strength. I do think that it will bounce again, but as long as it's down around here with Bitcoin dominance looking the way that it is, this would be a real potential to break over time. How would a break be considered? Well, close below that 382 level, and at that point, very likely we're going to see at minimum the 50% level, which is about 3.9 million satoshis. So that would be a pretty severe drop off from that level. Another, almost 20% drop off. Do I think that things could get worse from there? Yeah, definitely possible, but one thing at a time, of course. So while short term, it probably does try a little bit of a bounce over here. With the way that Bitcoin dominance is looking. And it looking like it wants more, really. This could very easily lead into an actual breakdown there. Perhaps this month actually. Also Solana, as I do consider Solana amongst the strongest in this market, or has been a market leader throughout this cycle. Although as of right now, it's certainly looking weak versus Bitcoin, and just looking. I mean, wouldn't say necessarily weak overall, but looking corrective here. So while again it does bounce very likely around this region, coming off the yellow 21 exponential average, I don't think they're going to be seeing new highs on this, something like this for a while. I think you're going to get another rally here. That rally is probably going to be a sell, and you're probably going to see this one come down further over time. And if it does continue on and make new highs, I would suspect that would happen, second half of this year earliest, or really like probably Q4 if I had to guess. So Solana a little bit more in trouble there as well is kind of what I'm suggesting. Long term though, I don't think it's like one massive downturn or anything, especially as long as it's above these lows here at about 18,000 Satoshis. But, again, it's very likely going to take its time, and putting in time between basically the 786 and the 618 right here, would imply long-term strength. Just the more time, the better. So I'd say, 2 to 3 months of that. And then, I'd probably be bullish on it yet again. Until then, likely trading sideways within this region, and generally losing to Bitcoin valuation, no matter which way Bitcoin does go here. Anyways, now that we've gone through that, I need to bring back my notes over here. Okay, so we've gone through that. Yep. And then I generally say that most altcoins probably not going to be looking super hot versus Bitcoin. Of course, there's going to be some one-offs here and there. There always are. It'd be naive to not suggest that. But in general, most will be losing, and it will get worse for most versus Bitcoin valuation. Again, doesn't mean that they're going to go versus US dollar, down versus US dollar. That's more of a function of which direction Bitcoin goes. Does Bitcoin go up or down? If it goes up, it drags everything else up generally as well. Okay, sweet. So let's get into some Bitcoin action right over here. Bitcoin failed all of the pivots that we laid out from yesterday's video. So that does imply that short term, or relative short, maybe even medium term, Bitcoin still corrective and can explore the bottom side of this overall range, a more than $10,000 range. But in this case, we did see not only the daily pivot failed, as Bitcoin did close below, I believe it was $70,000, but also the 2-day time frame pivot failed. Now it is at 66,900. So actually technically below current price action, but I wouldn't necessarily trust it all that much as of right now. 5-day pivot is not closing tonight, but tomorrow night I do believe. And that was 69,500. And then the weekly, which already failed on CME, is likely to fail for spot price action as well. And that is 72,600. So I would say that as long as these things are met, Bitcoin obviously not really in a threatening posture to break out towards any new highs just yet. So correction continues on. Also, Bitcoin CME did fail, or I wouldn't say fail, but did close below the 61.8 level right here on the HPDR bands. Again, more than likely, we do see this correction continue onwards and forwards here, potentially coming down all the way to, very low 60s or very upper 50s. But as I've been saying, I do still believe that that is going to be an opportunity. If we go back on over here into the Bitcoin production cost fundamentals chart, we can see that the basement cost to produce a Bitcoin is at $30,000 as of right now. Of course, when the halving happens, that cost is going to double. So that number will go from $30,000 to $60,000. Why is that relevant? Well, we've really never seen Bitcoin close below that basement price for like a prolonged period of time. I mean, maybe a few one-offs here and there, but ultimately these were phenomenal opportunities. Last time we saw something like this was back here for just, really a couple days in November of 2022, like on the actual macro lows. The time before that was actually on the last halving, where we did see a couple closures below, again, just ever so slightly below, but that was a massive opportunity once again. Even on the Rona dump lows, did catch it pretty much to the T right there. Didn't even hit it in 2018, and then same thing on the halving before that. And other than that, it's never really tested the basement price of this. So, going back into it for the current trajectory, what does that suggest? It suggests that, if Bitcoin does come back down around here, low 60s, maybe even upper 50s, because we do see, a little bit of action below sometimes, probably going to be a major opportunity. I do think ultimately this is all shaping up to be one major opportunity. Again, when we go back on over here to actually one of the charts that I was referencing yesterday and the day prior, Bitcoin on the 2-day time frame on CME did print that hidden bullish evidence, did confirm it. And while yesterday did not continue on with the rally, it's actually going to very likely align with another drive over here. So this is just building more, is what it's really doing, which is essentially kind of what we said over the past week and a half to 2 weeks now, that Bitcoin's just putting in time going sideways here. And until the halving happens, I wouldn't be expecting a break of this overall range, basically, $60,000 to the downside versus 73 to the upside. So in this case, you're already seeing that divergence potentially occur. Obviously, it's not going to happen all in one day and doesn't even trade over the weekend. So really, realistically, earliest that this could play out would be late next week. What happens late next week? Oh, it's the fucking halving, isn't it? Anyways, so that it looks like that meme might actually play out. But going back on over here, again, when this does double from 30,000 to 60,000, You might get a couple closures below. You might get something like this. I mean, this was an extreme situation, or like the past halving over here, a couple days below, it's fine. But as you can see, from then and thereforth on, is generally up. Same thing over here in the halving before that. That was in July of 2016. Again, traded a little bit below it. That's okay. Did even fall down a little bit as well. But these were all major opportunities. And, throughout the rest of the year, here and also here, it was just up, 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 up. So, do things come down a little bit more? Perhaps yes. Can they even come down a little bit below 60? Also, yes. Is that probably an opportunity? In my opinion, also yes. I think worst case scenario, if I don't know, something maybe a little bit like extraterrestrial would have to happen in this case. But maybe get very low 50s, like 51 to 52. Again, how big of a deal is that to you if you are long term? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. But for myself, I just look at these as long-term opportunities for long-term investments, as I'm starting to kind of switch my own proclivities into that. But as I've been saying, putting things in perspective here, how much time do I have on this? 11 minutes. I want to do a very big video on this, which is not going to be today's video, but I'm starting to really doubt that this cycle goes past the end of this year. I know a lot of people think that this goes into 2025 or even 2026. I think that's very unlikely. I think it's very, very unlikely. But do I think that we're done as of right now? I think that's also very unlikely. I think that this one does continue on from here. The only way that I'd change around my opinion on that is if Bitcoin got a multi-month correction exactly where it currently is, meaning that, you'd see 3 to 4 months, maybe even 5 months of sideways above 50, but below 70, basically. If we saw something like that, okay, fair enough. This cycle probably goes well into 2025, but I do think that this one is going to be done a lot sooner, a lot sooner than what most people are anticipating. So that'll be another topic for another video. Until then, I will hold off. I'm working on some more strategies over here. I think I have something. I'm trying to complete a completely new and innovative way of using the skeleton key and using both entry and take profit, but specifically with take profit, I have something over here. It's not ready just yet. Obviously, it's not fully optimized, but whenever I get a template like this, it tells me that there is likely something there. It's just now it's time to kind of fine tune this out. So yeah, I'm working on that in the background, but obviously these things take time, and just keep an eye out for it if you are the quant automation service. All right, sweet. That's enough for me today. As always, take care. Much love, Elsa. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, don't laugh.